Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Software Engineer K here, and we are going to be breaking down some really big updates today. So we have some interesting breadcrumbs around new exchanges. We're going to be going through what those exchanges are, my thoughts on them. We also have a pretty big announcement with one of the licensors that have pulled out of VeVe. We're going to be breaking down, what events led up to that, my thoughts, exactly why this was, not a very good decision, and also, just kind of looking into the further impact that would have on the existing licensors. And also we have a new comic drop date, so I'm going to be going through my prediction on that as well. So first off, the licensor that pulled out is Chaosium. For those who aren't aware, Chaosium first featured during the last Comic-Con event, San Diego Comic-Con, and they dropped the Cthulhu statues and the Necronomicon. And it wasn't a very known IP, such as Marvel at the time. Still isn't that very well known, but it has a kind of very ongoing loyal fan base of kind of tabletop RPG players. So basically what they went and said is, Chaosium publicized VeVe's initial offering back in July 2021 across all of our social channels. Our announcements didn't receive much attention from the gaming press or tabletop RPG community, but the release was successful and well received, demonstrating an enthusiastic and sizable community of Cthulhu fans on VeVe. And then they kind of went on and said, we understand that a lot has changed since we started down this road in 2019. The issues related to NFTs are increasingly more complex and controversial. In recent months, the debate has become prominent and contentious. And then they kind of talk about, bad actors, etc., etc. They have stated that VeVe is environmentally responsible. However, a lot of what they've stated or what the community has stated has obviously been misconceptions, and one of those huge misconceptions that triggered this kind of backlash from the community were calling NFTs a scam, and they talked a lot about the environmental impact as well. So the things that we can't really control, people using NFTs to scam, in this case the bad actors. NFTs aren't the only way people scam. People have been scamming with something called, fiat currency since it was first invented, okay? Just because people are using a tool in a negative way doesn't mean you should blame the tool, you should blame the person. And, I'm pretty sure wherever you go, if there's some form of value, there will be scammers. So, don't blame the tool, blame the person. I basically went to cover that. So one of the things that they spoke about, outside of the bad actors, is environmental impact, and I just wanted to put in perspective just how ridiculous that is. So we know that VeVe is on Immutable X, and Immutable X said when they mint NFTs, 8 million NFTs produced about 844 kilograms of CO2. So if we kind of just pull up a calculator here, so 844. So if we have 844 kilograms divided by, and that is 8 million NFTs. So you get 0.0001 kilograms of CO2 produced per NFT. And let's just multiply that 1,000 to get that into grams. So 0.1 grams per NFT to mint. Now, for the purpose of this, I will just ignore the secondary market transactions, just to keep it really simple. However, that is not going to be significant once you see just how ridiculous this comparison is. Now, if we have a look at Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, they do books, novels as well as physicals. I'm just only going to focus on one thing, just the books. So on average, there was a study done and estimated that the average CO2 footprint of one book is 2.7 kilograms. And I had a look at other studies. 2.7 is kind of like around about the higher to mid end of an average size book. Obviously larger books, for example here, like those study textbooks, that's about 4.1 kilograms. But it can go as low as 1.2 if it's recycled paper and it's paperback, it's not hardback, etc., etc. But we're going to go with the very minimum, which was 1.2 kilograms. So we'll ignore 2.7 kilograms, right? So we just go back to the calculator, and we know that 0.1 grams is what goes into one NFT on Immutable. So 0.1, let's just remember that, right? And 1.2 kilograms, which in this case is 1,200 grams, that is how much is produced per one book, and this is on the low end. So if we divide that per 0.1 grams, which is per one NFT, that means one book produces as much CO2 as 12,000 NFTs. And I believe, 12,000 is about the size of their entire collection for Cthulhu. So one book produces more CO2 than the entire Call of Cthulhu NFT collection. Put that into perspective, right? Now, I don't think they're making 12,000 transactions a day on, the Call of Cthulhu set. So, even if they are, it's like the equivalent of one book per day. And I'm pretty sure, HP Lovecraft sells more than one book per day. And this is just the books. They do the plastic figures and, the game boards and other stuff as well. So I'm not even factoring that in. So you can just see, if it's the environmental impact, then they should be supportive of, this new technology. And they're just constantly thinking, of the old, outdated from 2-3 years ago, minting NFTs on Ethereum mainnet. Like, it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. Some people, they just are very resistant to change. Now, the other thing I want to touch on are exchanges. So, shout out to VeVe Detective, who has kind of just been following some of, and I used to do this, I just don't have time to do this anymore, but kind of following changes in their socials. And 2 exchanges have popped up. So, Huobi and Biloxi. So, those are interesting exchanges. Huobi is like a well-known one. So, for anyone who isn't familiar with Huobi, Asia exchange, kind of similar to KuCoin. Pretty good exchange to be on. My one concern is a lot of these exchanges, they're kind of inaccessible to people in the US, which means, they're not going to get as much of volume as we'd expect. Biloxi is, another one I've looked at. It doesn't seem to be as big as Huobi or KuCoin, but it's another Asian-based exchange, I believe Hong Kong. So we've got 2 more Asian exchanges coming, but my concern is similar to like what we had OKX, and similar to Ascendex. They're kind of restrictive in terms of KYC and whatnot. I believe US-based investors, they can't really gain easy access to these exchanges. So we'll wait and see until we get like one of those mainstream exchanges. I'm still hopeful for Binance coming down the line, but I think maybe they might hold on to it until they've sorted out a lot of their kind of utility and whatnot for OMI. I think it's good to have that in place before OMI pumps. But for now, just having these smaller Asian exchanges just for more liquidity, I think is a good step forward, and also kind of allows them to test a bit more how OMI performs on new exchanges. Now, lastly, what I did want to touch on is the upcoming comic drop. So Friday we have confirmation. So usually we get a comic drop on Thursday, but this time it's going to be Friday, and it is Spider-Man #1, which is an interesting one because it does feature Miles Morales as well, along with Peter Parker. However, this comic is from 2012, so it's not super valuable. You can get like graded versions, 9.8 here for about $200, nothing too crazy, but it does feature Miles Morales and Spider-Man Peter Parker. So I believe this is going to be one of the ones where the digital kind of outperforms relative to the physical, and we've seen that with the first Miles Morales comic that we got. So yeah, I think for this one, it probably will outperform, relative to the other digitals we have as a ratio to the physical. I think the common is probably going to be fetching around about 40 gems, uncommon about 40 to 50, rare around about 80 to 90, ultra rare kind of in that 150 160 range, and then the secret rare I think probably around about 800. So kind of on the higher range, but we'll see. I think this one will do relatively better than some of the more recent comics we've seen. But yeah, lastly, what I did want to touch on is just the price of OMI for today. So our prediction was confirmed. We said that as we approach, the squeeze in this wedge, we were going to have a decrease or a pretty dramatic drop in OMI price, because we aren't going to be seeing any of that, upcoming utility and whatnot this month. And I believe we're probably still going to be waiting deep into next month. I think it's probably going to be, my prediction, probably around about April time when we do see some of that OMI utility come in, just because, MTO is going to take up a lot of their time. It is in beta testing now, so I think last I checked it was alpha testing, so now it's beta testing where they've brought in more people. But pretty exciting stuff. I believe, this region we are going to retest. And we'll break it pretty easily. I think once we get that new exchange, whatever exchange it is, that's going to kind of temporarily push us back up into the kind of like 0.7-ish range, and then we'll probably drop back down again to kind of trading around about 0.63, 0.62. But, you know, long term, you know, if we were to zoom out, we are kind of like 10x from where we were this time last year, which is pretty good. We have to remember OMI had a huge uptick, very unnatural uptick in price last year. So we're seeing some more organic growth. And I think, you know, I'm pretty bullish on us breaking that 1 cent point by the time OMI gets listed on a couple of, you know, more mainstream exchanges. So that's definitely happening this year. So no concern from me there. But my conservative price prediction was 2 cents for the year. If we do hit 2 cents this year, then I would personally consider that a success. You know, if we go beyond that, then that is just a bonus. But yeah, pretty exciting stuff to look forward to. That's everything I had to go through with you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, support the content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.